Welcome to ICT Integration Workshop 3. To start off with, we're going to be talking about online communication. We're going to go through basic communication practice, like online, how we can communicate. We'll look at digital citizenship and cybersafety, and then we'll discuss a little bit about content curation. In the next video, I'll explain to you how to do a mail merge, and then finally we'll talk about social media and digital duty of care. Now, teaching triangle is a concept that's been discussed with many people, and the whole point is that students, teachers and parents all make up the teaching triangle. You cannot form a great analysis or support for students if it's just the teachers and students on board. The parents really need to be on board as well. Equally, if the teachers and parents are having a good discussion but the students aren't on board, then it's just the adults trying hard and the students aren't doing much. And again, obviously, if you're not putting in an effort, then the parents and students are just going to get frustrated. So the teaching triangle is really important that we're all communicating effectively. Teachers and students can communicate in the classroom, but how do you actually get the students and teachers and parents to all communicate together? Now, you would have seen last week we talked about learning platforms and Edmodo, which is a great way of discussing stuff. However, it's not always the best way of doing it in the classroom. So one of the first things is basic communication. I would suggest contact your parents within the first 2 weeks. Now, this may not be the best application when you're a student teacher, but next year when you're out on your first, no, not next year, when you very first start teaching, contact every single student in your class. It's great, it opens the lines of communication, and it means that the very first time you speak to the parents, you're going, oh, hi, how are you going? I'm Mr. Johnson. Just introducing myself. Everything seems to be going fine. Do you have any questions? It means that the next time you ring up to go, your student has been a pain in the class and not doing any work, the parents, when they answer the phone, they go, oh, Mr. Johnson, how are you going? So you get that positive communication first. It makes things so much easier. Always keep a record of your communication, and one of the best things you can do is set up your class emails. So when you're emailing a group of students all at the same time, you can just hit one email. So just go 9JJ class or whatever. When you're emailing parents, it's also a great way of setting up a group email with all the parents, but always put the parents in the BCC. I have to be honest, I've made a big mistake when I was sending out an email once to the whole of the school, and I was sending an email to every parent in the school. Unfortunately, I put them all in the address bar, which meant every single parent had access to every other parent's email, and you can imagine I caught a lot of trouble from that. Also, it's great to check the sent emails. If you're checking that the emails have been sent and check that they've been read, then you know if you've been communicating with the parents. Basic ideas, basic things. Methods of communication. Email, fantastic because you can consume it in your own time. You can sit and think about it and send it. Learning platform is great because it does most of the work. Facebook, phone, or face-to-face. So as we discussed last week, some people use Facebook as a means of communication. So they might set up a Facebook page for the group or some form of that. It is good, but it can be dangerous. You need to be careful about who is on it and how you're using it. Just on the Facebook, I was speaking to my Year 8s this week, or last week just gone, and in 3 classes of Year 8 students, 20 students in the class, I said, how many of you still use Facebook? There was only 6. 2 years ago, it was 2/3 of the class. So Facebook is actually out of favour as a forms of social media with students. They tend to go onto Snapchat, Instagram, and things like that. So, and as far as phoning, as what we've just discussed, face-to-face is always great. If you can catch parents in the yard, keep the lines of dialogue open. Digital citizenship and cybersafety. Now, because a lot of our classes now are online, you need to be thinking about how you're using your class online. It's really important to set up rules and manage the online class in the same way as you would your current class. You wouldn't have students yelling out in class, you wouldn't have students abusing each other in class or bullying each other in the classroom, so why would you do that in your online class? So digital citizenship is something you really want to encourage students to be aware of. And really understanding that everything they post online, it stays online. Now, I've got here a link to the CyberSmart, which the government runs. It's been changed recently, so it's got lots of stuff about cyber safety. It's a great place to share with students and discuss things. And also on here, I've also got a link to the DCD procedures for media content. Now I'm just going to flick to that one. So here's a CyberSmart place. It's been redone, but you can find lots and lots of information on here, and it's great for discussing stuff with students. Now the social media thing, this is one of the things which you need to be aware of, that as far as the DCD is concerned, students, your photos you have of students, you need to be careful. You need permission to use photos. You also should not have names identifying the children or the school. Well, schools, check with the school, because otherwise things can be worked out. Don't use full names, and so on. Most students or most schools have permission slips for photographs which are in the diary and signed every year. So if you're taking photos of the students, then that's fine. If you're taking photos of the backs of the students and they don't have the names on them, that's normally fine. The other way to do it is take a photo of the students and then run it through a filter so it looks like a lead pencil. So the students actually become unrecognisable. Now, if a person knows who the student is, they'll be able to recognise them, but anyone else, no chance. So that's a great way of getting around things, and it really kind of gives that homely feel. All right, lead pencil stuff cannot use facial recognition as well. So there's a link to that so you can have a look at it. Now, if there is a cyber safety incident in the class, then this is the, well, to the best of my knowledge, the flowchart of how you would deal with it. So in a sense, you go through this, is it suspected e-crime? Contact them. Is it protection issues? You contact the child abuse. Is it a breach of DC, well this is DCS, but DCD, ICT security, contact DEX, or now it's DCD. Otherwise you can just implement the site managed behaviour. Now it's really important that you know what's going on. If there's any issue comes up, report to your line manager. In the case where you're a student teacher, report to your mentor. They'll be able to deal with whatever happens. Now, social communication in class. So it is a really big thing of actually using social media in class, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Skype, to be able to communicate with people in other parts of the world. Scoop.It is one that I'm going to suggest. This is more for your professional learning, and I'll just switch across. So Scoop.It is a website that you can, it's basically content curation. So I can share information I find. Anytime I find a piece of information, like for example this itself, I can click on my Scoop.It button, and what it will do is it will package up the page I'm on into a piece of content. Okay, so here it's talking about, so here I'm actually promoting my own page. Right, now I'm going to put that in my ePortfolio magazine. All right, and then from there I can say, from that I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to post this link to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Google Plus all at the same time. I can write my inside up here, link to Jared Johnson's Scoop.It posts. Okay, you can do that, and then it will post all those in there. Let me just turn these off and turn them back on. Normally it copies it straight down, which it's not doing. The great thing about this is it's a way of curating content very, very quickly. So every time I'm posting something, I post to everything all at the same time. So if I'm talking here, I've posted about e-learning in schools and universities. When I've posted that today, I go click curate and it sends off to Facebook, all the different things. So if someone's following me on Twitter, I've got about 300 or 400 people following me on Twitter, they can read that. If I've got, I post to Facebook and I use it as a professional place. And again, I can post that way. Same as Google Plus and LinkedIn. So people who are finding me on LinkedIn can see all my posts, and so I'm presented as a professional person. So it's also great for in the classroom. In the classroom, the teachers can develop all their material and have it as a class space. Yes. Okay, Another alternative from this is if you go to blog. So EduBlogs is a really good blogging program which a lot of schools use. It's used extensively in primary school and actually teaching students how to blog. And a lot of staff teachers use it in high school as well themselves. Alright, I've just gone through the content curation. And so that's what I'm going to cover for today for online communication. Watch the next videos and I'll show you how to do a mail merge, and then I'll show you how to do, we'll discuss digital duty of care.